Section 24 of English Synonyms and Antonyms. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Dennis Sayers. English Synonyms and Antonyms by James Champlin Fernald. Eager to emigrate. Eager. Synonyms: animated, anxious, ardent, burning, desirous, earnest, enthusiastic, fervent, glowing, hot, impatient, impetuous, importunate, intense, intent, keen, longing, vehement, yearning, zealous. One is eager who impatiently desires to accomplish some end. One is earnest with a desire that is less impatient, but more deep, resolute, and constant. One is anxious with a desire that foresees rather the pain of disappointment than the delight of attainment. One is eager for the gratification of any appetite or passion. He is earnest in conviction, purpose, or character. Eager usually refers to some specific and immediate satisfaction, earnest to something permanent and enduring. The patriotic soldier is earnest in his devotion to his country, eager for a decisive battle. Antonyms: apathetic, calm, careless, cold, cool, dispassionate, frigid, heedless, indifferent, negligent, phlegmatic, purposeless, regardless, stolid, stony, stupid, unconcerned, uninterested, unmindful, unmoved. Prepositions: eager for, more rarely after favor, honor, etc. Eager in pursuit. Ease. Synonyms: easiness, expertness, facility, knack, readiness. Ease, in the sense here considered, denotes freedom from conscious or apparent effort, tax, or strain. Ease may be either of condition or of action. Facility is always of action. Readiness is of action or of expected action. One lives at ease who has no pressing cares. One stands at ease, moves or speaks with ease when wholly without constraint. Facility is always active. Readiness may be active or passive. The speaker has facility of expression, readiness of wit. Any appliance is in readiness for use. Ease of action may imply merely the possession of ample power. Facility always implies practice and skill. Anyone can press down the keys of a typewriter with ease. Only the skilled operator works the machine with facility. Readiness, in the active sense, includes much of the meaning of ease, with the added idea of promptness or alertness. Easiness applies to the thing done, rather than to the doer. Expertness applies to the more mechanical processes of body and mind. We speak of the readiness of an orator, but of the expertness of a gymnast. Compare comfortable, dexterity, power. Antonyms: annoyance, awkwardness, constraint, difficulty, discomfort, disquiet, irritation, perplexity, trouble, uneasiness, vexation, worry. Education. Synonyms: breeding, cultivation, culture, development, discipline, information, instruction, knowledge, learning, nurture, reading, schooling, study, teaching, training, tuition. Education, from the Latin educere, to lead or draw out, is the systematic development of cultivation of the mind and other natural powers. Education is the harmonious development of all our faculties. It begins in the nursery and goes on at school, but does not end there. It continues through life, whether we will or not. Every person, says Gibbon, has two educations, one which he receives from others, and one more important, which he gives himself. End of quote. John Lubbock, The Use of Life, Chapter 7, page 111. Macmillan, 94. Instruction, the impartation of knowledge by others, from the Latin instruere, or to build in or into, is but a part of education, often the smallest part. Teaching is the more familiar and less formal word for instruction. Training refers not merely to the impartation of knowledge, but to the exercising of one in actions with the design to form habits. Discipline is systematic and rigorous training, with the idea of subjection to authority and perhaps of punishment. Tuition is the technical term for teaching as the business of an instructor, or as in the routine of a school. Tuition is narrower than teaching, not, like the latter word, including training. Study is emphatically what one does for himself. We speak of the teaching, training, or discipline, but not of the education or tuition of a dog or a horse. Breeding and nurture include teaching and training, especially as directed by and dependent upon home life and personal association. Breeding having reference largely to manners, with such qualities as are deemed distinctively characteristic of high birth. Nurture, literally nourishing, having more direct reference to moral qualities, not overlooking the physical and mental. Knowledge and learning tell nothing of mental development apart from the capacity to acquire and remember, and nothing whatever of that moral development which is included in education in its fullest and noblest sense. Learning, too, may be acquired by one's unaided industry, but any full education must be the result in great part of instruction, training, and personal association. Study is emphatically what one does for himself, and in which instruction and tuition can only point the way, encourage the student to advance, and remove obstacles. Vigorous, persevering study is one of the best elements of training. Study is also used in the sense of the thing studied, a subject to be mastered by study, a studious pursuit. Compare knowledge, refinement, wisdom. Antonyms: ignorance, illiteracy. Compare synonyms for ignorant. Effrontery. Synonyms: assurance, audacity, boldness, brass, hardihood, impudence, insolence, shamelessness. Audacity, in the sense here considered, is a reckless defiance of law, decency, public opinion, or personal rights, claims, or views, approaching the meaning of impudence or shamelessness, but always carrying the thought of the personal risk that one disregards in such defiance. The merely impudent or shameless person may take no thought of consequences. The audacious person recognizes and recklessly braves them. Hardihood defies and disregards the rational judgment of men. Effrontery, from the Latin effrons, barefaced, shameless, adds to audacity and hardihood the special element of defiance of considerations of propriety, duty, and respect for others, yet not to the extent implied in impudence or shamelessness. Impudence disregards what is due to superiors. Shamelessness defies decency. Boldness is forward-stepping courage, spoken of with reference to the presence and observation of others. Boldness, in the good sense, is courage viewed from the outside, but the word is frequently used in an unfavorable sense to indicate a lack of proper sensitiveness and modesty. Compare assurance and brave. Antonyms: bashfulness, coyness, diffidence, modesty, sensitiveness, shrinking, shyness, timidity. Egotism. Synonyms: conceit, egoism, self-assertion, self-conceit, self-confidence, self-consciousness, self-esteem, vanity. Egoism is giving the I undue supremacy in thought. Egotism is giving the I undue prominence in speech. Egotism is sometimes used in the sense of egoism, or supreme regard for oneself. Self-assertion is the claim by word, act, or manner of what one believes to be his due. Self-conceit is an overestimate of one's own powers or deserts. Conceit is a briefer expression for self-conceit, with always an offensive implication. Self-conceit is ridiculous or pitiable. Conceit arouses resentment. There is a worthy self-confidence which springs from consciousness of rectitude and of power equal to demands. Self-assertion at times becomes a duty, but self-conceit is always a weakness. Self-consciousness is the keeping of one's thoughts upon oneself with the constant anxious question of what others will think. Vanity is an overweening admiration of self, craving equal admiration from others. Self-consciousness is commonly painful to its possessor, vanity always a source of satisfaction, except as it fails to receive its supposed due. Self-esteem is more solid and better founded than self-conceit, but is ordinarily a weakness, and never has the worthy sense of self-confidence. Compare assurance, pride. Antonyms: bashfulness, deference, diffidence, humility, modesty, self-distrust, self-forgetfulness, shyness, unobtrusiveness, unostentatiousness. Emblem. Synonyms: attribute, figure, image, sign, symbol, token, type. Emblem is the English form of emblema, a Latin word of Greek origin signifying a figure beaten out on a metallic vessel by blows from within. Also, a figure inlaid in wood, stone, or other material as a copy of some natural object. The Greek word symbolon denoted a victor's wreath, a check, or any object that might be compared with or found to correspond with another, whether there was or not anything in the objects compared to suggest the comparison. Thus an emblem resembles, a symbol represents. An emblem has some natural fitness to suggest that for which it stands. A symbol has been chosen or agreed upon to suggest something else, with or without natural fitness. A sign does actually suggest the thing with or without reason, and with or without intention or choice. A symbol may be also an emblem. Thus the elements of bread and wine in the Lord's Supper are both appropriate emblems and his own chosen symbols of suffering and death. A statement of doctrine is often called a symbol of faith, but it is not an emblem. On the other hand, the same thing may be both a sign and a symbol. A letter of the alphabet is a sign which indicates a sound, but letters are often used as mathematical, chemical, or astronomical symbols. A token is something given or done as a pledge or expression of feeling or intent. While the sign may be unintentional, the token is voluntary. Kind looks may be signs of regard. A gift is a token. A ring, which is a natural emblem of eternity and also its accepted symbol, is frequently given as a token of friendship or love. A figure, in the sense here considered, is something that represents an idea to the mind, somewhat as a form is represented to the eye, as in drawing, painting, or sculpture. As representing a future reality, a figure may be practically the same as a type. An image is a visible representation, especially in sculpture, having or supposed to have a close resemblance to that which it represents. A type is, in religion, a representation of a greater reality to come. We speak of one object as the type of the class whose characteristics it exhibits, as in the case of animal or vegetable types. An attribute in art is some accessory used to characterize a figure or scene. The attribute is often an emblem or symbol. Thus the eagle is the attribute of St. John as an emblem of lofty spiritual vision. Compare sign. Emigrate. Synonyms: immigrate, migrate. To migrate is to change one's dwelling place, usually with the idea of repeated change, or of periodical return. It applies to wandering tribes of men and to many birds and animals. Emigrate and immigrate carry the idea of a permanent change of residence to some other country or some distant region. The two words are used distinctively of human beings and apply to the same person and the same act, according to the side from which the action is viewed. Prepositions: a person emigrates from the land he leaves. He immigrates to the land where he takes up his abode. End of section 24. Read by Dennis Sayers in Modesto, California, for LibriVox.